You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here cool on Philly, the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, Hunter like Randall. Season here, really time to do them in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So unfortunately, Joey Shakes couldn't make it. He got tied up at work, but we do have, the GOAT in the building, one half of the Philly Shakedown podcast, the 100% of Philly 500. What's going on, 500? How you doing, man?
What is up, my man? How are you, man? It's great to be back on your show again. Man, I love the show. It's great to be here. Love your intro. It's beautiful. How are you, Definitely. Man?
I'm good, man. I mean, listen, we're coming off of a win, right? I love the Christmas spirit that you're bringing on the show. That's what we needed over here. And it's a good time to be a Philadelphia Eagle because you know what? We have drama. Ain't nothing better than some drama as an Eagles fan.
I mean, would you expect anything less?
Exactly,
I mean, really,
exactly.
Especially a quarterback controversy. Come on.
Exactly. We're no strangers to it. But before we get into any player specific stuff, the first thing I kind of wanted to bring up is obviously we're 6-7 now going into the bye, just coming off of a win against the Jets. Yes, the Jets. I know everybody's gonna say it's just the Jets.
Yeah.
But how are you feeling coming off of that victory? Did anything stand out to you from that victory?
There's a few things that stood out. First of all, yeah, you're right. It's the Jets, so we got to take that for what it is, But I thought it was really interesting seeing another quarterback behind center, only to get tape on what it kind of would look like. Maybe see a little more of what Nick Sirianni really would like to do. And I was a guy coming into this game who probably has really low expectations of Gardner Minshew. I think he's a good backup, but he actually played better than I thought he was going to play. I loved how they used Dallas Goedert. I think he's a stud. He's not used enough. And the other two things really, I didn't like that Devontae Smith is still not treated like a number one. I don't like the idea that they put more effort into getting Reagor the ball than Devontae Smith. That was disappointing, and then the defense was really disappointing to me.
Definitely, yeah, and that actually brings me into what I wanted to talk about next, which is the defense. But before I get into that, I know that a lot of people are going to be talking about Gardner Minshew versus the Jalen Hurts, obviously, which with good reason. I think you have to be, evaluating both talents. I stand where you stand, and I think a lot of people are kind of getting to this point that I don't necessarily know if either of them are the guy for this team, long term. But I do feel this. I will say this. I think that if Jalen Hurts looks at this game tape and says, I can take those easy throws, I can get to my third, fourth guy in the progression, he'll be eons above what Gardner Minshew is. So I think that if he can develop the consistency in his arm and his, be a threat as a passer consistently, I think he has the tools to be a great quarterback. It's about getting there, right? So what you said is perfect. I think that, we saw what Gardner Minshew did, and he's no all-world talent or anything like that, but he took what the defense gave him. I know a lot of people are kind of saying, and I want to get your opinion on this. I know a lot of people are saying that it was a different scheme. I don't think it was too different from what they run with Jalen outside of obviously, the quarterback runs. But how did you see that? Did you think that they kind of changed a little bit for Gardner?
I mean, I've only seen a game one time so far. Usually I'll go back and watch 2 or 3 times. But, I mean, to me, it looked like there was less like RPOs. They weren't doing those kind of things. It was a little more under center, a little more in the passing game. So I think they changed things up slightly. Yeah, I do. I don't know if it was super dramatic, but I think they changed things up enough to kind of fit with what Gardner Minshew does better. Obviously, if Hurts is there, he's probably going to do more RPOs and things like that. I think it was a little more traditional.
Yeah. Definitely. No, we'll get a little bit more into that in a little bit, but I do want to talk about the defense. Now, yeah, as you said, the defense was a little bit in the beginning of the game. I don't know a nice way to say it. So they were terrible, right? The defense was horrible. They had Wilson out there looking like Tom Brady for a while. So, and then, and I do also want to bring up that in the second half, it was a absolutely total different defense. I don't know if it had something to do with the offense just falling off the tracks for the Jets or if the defense figured something out. What did you see in the tale of two halves for this defense, and what good and bad? Because I mean, there was that second half, right? That you go almost an hour and a half without letting them get a first down, and it's just like, what did you see, and why do you think there was such that disparity between the halves?
Well, I'm going to say a couple things that I can tell you. I haven't watched it more than once, so I'm only going to recall what I remember watching the game. First off, first half, you come out, you're playing 15-yard back. Your corners are way back, and you're not bringing pressure. You're blitzing. You're only rushing your front four. The Eagles have a major defensive line problem. They need two edge rushers. Derek Barnett stinks. Josh Sweat, to me, is not cutting it. You need two edge rushers. They cannot generate pressure with that front four. They just seem to have a problem. And then when you put your corners in zone and they play way back, it's going to make it easy for Zach Wilson to make easy passes. That's what he did. Now, when Steven Nelson got hurt, they started having Slay not play zone, but stay with Elijah Moore. So they played more man, and they started to bring pressure, and that was the difference. Zach Wilson, I think he had the highest sack rate coming into this game. He didn't handle pressure. And why on earth would you show him so much respect when he's a rookie quarterback to not bring pressure early on? Should have brought pressure early on. This thing wouldn't even been close.
No, that's a fact. Yeah. And it brings me to what I wanted to talk about too, is this coaching. I mean, we've seen a lot of different styles of coaching with the same two guys. Like, I feel like these guys have thrown almost every axe in their, satchel or whatever analogy you want to use. They've tried a bunch of different things, and we've seen some things that work, but they don't stick to it. So 13 games in, right? We look at this coaching staff offensively and defensively. What are you thinking? Has your thought process changed throughout this season about this coaching staff? Has it been for the better, for the worse? Have you kind of stayed where you are on this coaching staff? How do you feel so far this year with them?
So when they first hired Sirianni, I liked a lot of things he said. I was very disappointed the first month and a half of the season because I felt like everything he talked about and preached about, he didn't do. But he started to adjust. And he started to make changes. And actually, I've been very pleased for the most part. Now, he makes some mistakes. There's things that I don't like. But I'm sure you could pick that out every game. But for the most part, I've been kind of impressed on how he's kind of adjusted his offense to play calling to fit more of what the Eagles need to do. So that has been a very positive. So for me, Sirianni, offensive coordinator, they're all good. Where I have a problem is the defensive coordinator. I don't like his scheme. I don't think his scheme will ever work in the NFL. You have to be an aggressive defense. I like defenses that dictate to the offense, not get dictated to. And I don't know if I will ever like the way Jonathan Gannon goes about his defense. So as far as I'm concerned, he could go somewhere else. All right, that's what I'm trying to say. Get rid of him. I would get rid of him.
I feel like Jonathan Gannon plays scared, especially as a defensive coordinator, you cannot do that. You can't play, like you said, you can't play 10 yards off the ball on a 1st and 10. Like, be a little bit different, or on a 3rd and 4, you're playing 10 yards off the ball. It just doesn't make sense. I forget who it was. It might have been Joey, actually. I was listening to, when I'm at work, I listen to a bunch of different podcasts, and something that stood out to me from I want to say it was Joey, but he was saying, he misses the days where it was just send them all. It might have even been you. It was somebody, I promise. But they were like, they were saying they missed those days where they just sent the house on 3rd and 6. They weren't afraid to take a risk. And I feel like as an Eagles fan, and you tell me if you differ on this, I'd rather give up a touchdown on 3rd and 3 because they had the cojones to throw it and we just missed the blitz. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were just there, rather than give up a 2-yard conversion because we were playing 2 yards or 20 yards back. it
Right.
seems like you just gave it to him. Like, go out
Yeah.
there and try. Obviously, I'm not trying to give up a touchdown. Maybe
Right.
that I don't want that to get lost, but it's the mindset. I want you to go out there and just give all you got, man. And especially with these linebackers, I've said this, midway through the season, you look at these linebackers. What are they really giving you 10 yards off the ball anyways? Are they really becoming better pass coverage guys?
Right.
No, they're still getting burnt. So, guys like Alex Singleton, send him. He's not
Right.
really he can make a tackle, so send him into the backfield and hope that somebody's back there for him to tackle.
Right. Well, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I agree.
No, you're
I
good.
agree. I think in today's NFL, my philosophy is this. The NFL is so slanted and favored towards the offense, right? That they're going to throw so much, and if you touch a quarterback, it's a penalty. There's just a lot of advantage to the offense. So the only real way to neutralize the offense is to get pressure on a quarterback. You have to be aggressive. You have to get pressure. And if you just assume that you're only going to rush your front four, I think you're going to get killed in this league. And let's go back to games like the Raiders game, right? Derek Carr goes 31-34 in that game. Herbert has ridiculous numbers. All these guys have completion percentages of over 75% against us. And to me, I wonder if you're the defensive coordinator and a guy's 18-19 in the first half, at what point do you say, I've got to do something different to throw this off? I'm going to blitz, and if he beats it, I tip my cap to him, and we go on to the next play. They don't do that. I always say, I miss the Jim Johnson days. I miss the Buddy Ryan days. Look, Buddy Ryan had Reggie White, Clyde Simmons, Jerome Brown, and he still blitzed. You gotta bring pressure. And the Eagles, their biggest need to me, is defensive end. They need 2 defensive ends this year in the offseason.
Definitely. Yeah. I've been one to say, in the offseason prior, I was thinking that linebacker is like the first place you go, maybe cornerback. Defensive line was kind of on, the back burner of my mind. But looking at it this year, it's starting to kind of put the dots together, seeing that we were trying to kind of get rid of Fletcher Cox anyways. It makes, and I'm not saying that we're going to get rid of Fletcher Cox this offseason, but it just tells me we don't feel comfortable with the D-line that we have. We're very old D-line, and we're not productive as we were in the past couple of years. We've really relied on this defensive line, and now we can't really do that right now, because like you said, Milton Williams, we'll see what happens. I don't want to say he a bust in the first year, but it's looking like he was a reach. He's looking like a reach. And you look at, this whole defensive line, we may have paid Josh Sweat a bit early. Derek Barnett, I think, has more, personal fouls than I have podcasts right now. He might be on episode 4,000 of his own podcast, How to Catch a Foul.
If you want me to lose my mind in a stream, Derek Barnett's the guy to do it. Because
seriously,
he gets on my nerves with his penalties, and they're always costly. He's not good. This was his final year of his contract. This was, hey, I want the big payday year. You know what I mean? And he's giving you nothing. Exactly. And for years, people say, oh, well, he's banged up, he's injured. Not this year. You can't say that this year. He was a bad first-round pick, which was my most disliked video when he drafted him. And I said, this is a bad pick. And thank you. I was right.
Yeah, and a lot of people, if they are trying to defend Derek Barnett, which there's not many in that, to be fair, there's not
anymore.
Many in that. Yeah, not anymore. There's not many anymore. So, I'll be fair on that. But a lot of people that do try to defend him do bring up Brandon Graham. Obviously, Brandon Graham took a little while to develop, but it's the bonehead penalties. It's the stuff that you can correct, right? And I feel like with Brandon Graham, his was more of a development in a system. Like, he was in a system that didn't really fit him early. Then he changed it a couple of times, and granted, Derek Barnett is kind of going through the same thing. It's one change out of the Jim Schwartz. He's had Jim Schwartz his whole career, now changing to Nick Sirianni. I don't think it's a drastic change, and the change isn't on the field. If he was kind of struggling as a player, but still making impact, because he's making plays here and there. I will give him that. It's just that the mistakes that you're making overshadow that at this point. It's a funny thing that you say, if you know, to go get you crazy as Derek Barnett. Whenever I watch the game, I'll be sitting with my girl, and no matter what penalty it is, it could be a holding on the offense. I'm gonna say, I bet you it was Derek Barnett.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? As soon as I see a flag, I'm like, what did Derek Barnett do?
Every time it's like a 4th and 1 or 3rd and 2, I'm always yelling, "Get Derek Barnett back off the line of scrimmage," because I'm expecting him to go off sides all the time. You know, and look, I mean, you know, people are saying, well, he recovered the fumble in the Super Bowl. Yeah, he recovered a fumble. Nate Gary could recover a fumble. He's a 1st-round pick that does not give you any production. The thing with him, and like if you look at Brandon Graham, right, picked around the same thing. I think it were 1 spot difference when they were picked. Brandon Graham got better with age. He was not good, and he didn't live up to it early in his career. He got better with age. He is the exception. Yeah. He's the exception. You know, that doesn't happen often.
That's very true. That's very true. And now, like, I mean, I think to kind of, you know, and put that in a nice little bow around that. I think to your point of, you know, it took Brandon Graham some time. I think defensive line and cornerback are those probably 2 positions in the NFL where it takes a little bit of time. And sometimes those positions are kind of like wine, right? You get better with time, because at cornerback, outside of your, you know, athleticism, your mind becomes way better. Like, you start knowing what the wide receivers are trying to do to you. It's the same thing on the defensive line. You kind of, once you start seeing a bunch of offensive linemen, you kind of understand what they're trying to do to you, and you can kind of get better at it. But the mental mistakes is something that it's either you fix it or you don't. And it's been, what, 3, 4, 5 years now that we've been dealing with the same thing. So it's like, you know, it's frustrating now to go from one negative to the next, and we'll switch sides of the ball. You know, okay. Don't want to drop the ball on this one, so to speak, pun intended. So what are your thoughts? Look, this is kind of actually a debate, because I thought everybody just hated Reagor. I thought it was just like a unanimous, everybody, we can't stand this guy. But there are some people saying we have to give him time. Where do you stand on the Jalen Reagor situation right now? How do you feel about these past couple weeks?
I have to separate emotion from logic. I said all season before the Giants game that I got to give Reagor. I'm sorry, he's Jalen Reagor. I love that name. You got to give him 3 years. I think it's 3 years, and then I can come up with something. But I got to say, like, from an emotional standpoint, I feel like I've seen this song and dance before, right? Like he drops a pass to win the game against the Giants and erase all the struggles, and he chokes, and he choked twice, and then you see him come out, and now he fumbles the ball. You know, people don't realize the kickoff in the second half. The only time the Jets kicked off in the second half, Boston Scott was returning it, not Jalen Reagor. They took him out. I think he's mental. I think it's another Nelson Aguilar situation. So like, yeah, logically, yeah, probably you should give him another year. But my gut feeling and emotionally, I've seen this before. Nelson Aguilar took 10 years off my life. Reagor has taken 1 year off my life. I don't need to watch this song and dance anymore. I don't have the patience for him. I don't.
Yeah, that's 11 years of Philly 500 we just missed because of
you missed out because of
this is ridiculous. Those were going to be the best 11 years too. Yeah, old Philly 500 is probably going to be the most entertaining thing in the world. Yeah. But
I hope YouTube like, you know, tones the censorship back, because when I'm older, I'm going to say a lot more shit that I ain't going to care about.
You're going to have to get a Twitch channel. I think they allow everything over there.
Yeah, probably.
But you know, that's a great comparison, to be honest, because I was going to bring up the interview. I think it was John McClain, I want to say his name is, or McMullen, one of the two. McClain, I think it is. That did the interview of Doug Peterson, of Doug Peterson. And he brought up, you know, Nelson Aguilar, saying that it was a mental thing, and, you know, he possibly might just need to step away from the game for a little while.
Yeah.
Which kind of, you know, but kind of solidified my thought of, I think I'm with you that you probably give him another year, but I think that you bring in competition, whether it's a veteran wide receiver, whether it's somebody you draft and you say, listen, you either beat this guy or you don't. You know, it should just come down to that. So, I mean, if he gets the confidence, what happens then, right? Like, you know, like, even outside of dropping the balls, has he really created separation? You know, has he really been a target-rich guy? Like, what is there really to hold on to with him? And that's what gets me lost.
See, here's the thing. There's a couple things with Reagor, because if you go and you look at his college tape, he's fast. He is fast. And he does special teams good. I think he thinks too much, and he plays slow. He doesn't have confidence. He's trying to figure out what to do. I think he plays slow, right? And he's always got this big shadow of Justin Jefferson over him, right? And now I think what's happening, and this is the problem I have more than anything, is the front office obviously is pushing him to get more touches, to try to get him more involved. I don't understand why you do a game plan where you come out and you try to put the ball in Reagor's hands and not Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Why does Devontae Smith not get a bubble screen? Why does he not do an end around? Why are you not getting the ball to Devontae Smith? Some people say, well, he's double covered. Well, why is Reagor getting more snaps? He got more snaps than Devontae Smith last game.
As well as Quez. Yeah.
That's insanity. And then that's the other one. You're keeping Quez Watkins back because of Reagor. They're really trying to push Reagor, and I think it has to do with Howie Roseman's pride. Justin Jefferson, 15 catches. Reagor has to go out and get all these throws and looks. So I think it just makes everything worse, you know?
And like you said, you're holding these guys back. You're holding young guys back. We've seen flashes of what Quez Watkins can be, and you know, for these plays to be, especially when you understand your quarterback is struggling to get to the third or fourth read, whether or not people want to admit that, it is what it is. We've seen it over and over, and it's not a knock. He's still young. He can grow with that. So please don't kill me in the comments right now. But, you know, especially as a coach, when you see that your quarterback's struggling with something, why are you not making his first two options his best options? They should be, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, Devontae Smith, Quez, and then if you make it to 3 and 4, you know, you got these guys. Or even if it's Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and then if you make it to 3, 4, and 5, you got Quez, you know, Reagor and stuff like that. It's just, you know, it's a from bottom to top thing. I think it really is. I think it's, like you said, it's the pride thing for the organization. I think it's the lack of understanding his team a little bit for Nick Sirianni, and it's just the lack of play by Jalen Reagor, because if he makes these plays, we're not complaining, right? You know, that's how the NFL works. If you make the plays, then you're the GOAT. If you don't, you're the scapegoat. So, you know, that's just how it works. But hopefully he figures it out. I'm kind of at the point that I don't think he will, but hopefully he does. Now, I want to switch to something a little bit positive on this offense. Okay. Obviously, we've been very run dominant this, you know, past couple weeks, probably like 5 or 6 weeks. But we finally get a 100-yard rusher, right? We finally see Boobie Miles Sanders getting 100 yards. Right. He's been a topic of conversation, you know, whether or not he's coming back next year. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he's somebody with that game that it kind of propels him to earn that contract next year?
I keep Miles Sanders. I'm a Miles Sanders guy. I'm a Miles Sanders guy. You just look at his production, even this year, right? Maybe he's gone games where he doesn't get the ball a lot, but he still always averages like 4.5 yards a carry. He had 24 carries, 120-something yards, right? 5 yards a carry. He averaged 5 yards a carry on 24 carries. Now, the biggest concern I have with Miles is just he keeps getting banged up. You know, that's the problem. I wouldn't extend him, but I would not get rid of him, and I'd bring him back. I really think they need to keep featuring Miles Sanders. Look, it's very hard to have a guy that can break an 80-yarder or 60-yarder at any point in time, especially with this offensive line now. I'm not getting rid of Miles at all. I actually like the idea of either you bring back Howard or you get another big physical back to go with him. I'm totally good with that, but I'm keeping Miles.
Definitely. And that, you know, like, how do you feel about Howard? Because I mean, they both have the same issue to me. Like, I feel like both of them have been productive. They've shown that they can be a running back in this league, and a highly productive running back in both cases, in my opinion, right? Some people might have different opinions of that, but it is what it is. In my opinion, that's what they've shown. And you can probably get both of them for cheap, relatively, right? Especially Howard, who hasn't really panned out elsewhere. So do you bring him back? And he's another one that's kind of been looking at injury history ever since he's come to the Eagles.
I would bring him back if he's cheap and he wants to come back. I have no problem with that. But I would say this. I also think you could find a running back in the draft that can do exactly what he does.
Yeah.
I like Jordan Howard, but he's not a top 10 running back in this league. He's somebody that you could find somebody in the draft, probably do it, sign a veteran to do it. But if you can get him cheap, fine. But I'm telling you, Miles Sanders, if he's not having those injuries, I think he's tearing it up. I do.
Yeah.
He look at his yards per carry; they're high. He gets positive yards. Now he's not perfect. He's got to be better in the receiving game. He's a pretty good blocker, and sometimes he tries to do too much instead of hit the hole. But I think when you have guys that can break it open, you keep guys like that on the field. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and they have the camaraderie now. They know each other. They know how each other play. Especially if you're going with somebody like a Jalen Hurts, you just have three different running styles out there. Right. So I don't think it hurts that much. I really don't. Now, this is what everybody is going to be talking about. We went 30 minutes without talking about this, so I think it's fair.
Here we go.
Shout out to the 60 in the chat right now. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. Go subscribe to the GOAT Philly 500. Go subscribe to Joey Shakes72. He couldn't make it today because he doesn't like us.
And he calls me late all the time.
We had to throw one shot, right? We had to throw one shot. But so let's get into it, man. There's no nice way of saying it, so I'm just gonna say it. Jalen Hurts played terribly against the Giants, lost the game. Yep. Gardner Minshew had himself a pretty damn game. It's the Jets. The Jets. But how are you feeling about our quarterback situation? Are you comfortable with Jalen Hurts going forward? Do you think Gardner maybe, deserves or earned a little bit more of a look? How are you feeling there?
This is such a fascinating question because every time I address it, right, I'll get a comment and it'll say you're a Jalen Hurts hater, and then right underneath that same comment will be, why are you sticking up for Jalen Hurts? It's like people hear what they want to hear. Here's my thought on the whole thing. Now, I probably viewed Gardner Minshew as a backup quarterback when we got him. That's how I saw him. I never seen him as a franchise quarterback. So my expectations for him, and I only watched him maybe 3 times in Jacksonville, my expectations were low. So he went out there and he was a lot better than I thought he would be. That said, when I look at this situation, I look at this year, I think of this year in terms of the number one priority is to identify if we need a franchise quarterback. Okay, playoffs are great, but we're not winning Super Bowl. I would love to get to the playoffs, but I'm not sacrificing my main goal to get to the playoffs. I want to get to the playoffs trying to do it. So to me, we have been evaluating Jalen Hurts all year. Now we're in a situation where we got 4 games left, all division games, with playoffs on the line. This is the moment and the time that I was waiting to see how he reacts. How is he, right? There's no question. I think Minshew is a better passer right now than Jalen Hurts. But I think Jalen Hurts' ceiling is much higher. Because if Jalen Hurts can develop his passing game with him and his athletic ability, he's a scary weapon. Okay? Now, I said I wouldn't make a judgment until after the season, but I'll say this. If you put a gun to my head right now and you would say to me, who's the franchise quarterback? I'll tell you it's not on this team.
Yeah.
I don't think we have him. I don't know that Jalen Hurts is the guy. I don't think Gardner Minshew is the guy. But that being said, I've got to give Jalen Hurts the opportunity to show me he can be. And with 4 games right now, these are big playoff type games. This is what I've been waiting to see with Jalen Hurts. This is going to tell me a lot this month. So that's kind of where I am. I don't think Minshew, I think he's a better passer, but he doesn't have a great, huge arm either. He underthrew Gardner. He underthrew some guys, Hurts doesn't either. And if I had to guess, I would say that probably we don't have a franchise quarterback yet. But I mean, I don't know. I'd rather give Hurts the opportunity. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
I agree 100%. I think that's where you should be. I think that's where us as a fan base, and I think that's even as the organization, that should be the thought process. We got this far, right? That's like quitting class, 4 weeks early because you're not sure if you're gonna pass. You
Right.
don't know. You might as well try and
Right.
finish it out, see what happens. So I agree 100%. I think that Jalen hasn't done anything necessarily to lose that spot. If he was hurt, he was hurt. It happens. I think that he deserves this season to just give him the full evaluation. And at the end of the day, we have Gardner Minshew next year. Gardner Minshew, we have 20 games, or I think 21 now games of film on him. I think that the coaching staff should feel comfortable in who they think he is. I don't think any more games with this Eagle team really will tell them too much more. Maybe he does way better. Maybe he does worse. But I think for the most part, you should know what he is. So I agree 100%. I think you deserve, or you owe it to yourself and to Jalen to give him these last couple games, whether it's to put film on, on the table for other teams, or whether it's to, solidify that he is the answer for us. I agree, though. I don't think it's here right now, but it's such a, what is a franchise quarterback? There's so many different answers to that, because it's like your main goal is to go win a Super Bowl, right? And
Right.
Teams have done it with random quarterbacks. Sometimes quarterback isn't what brings you and wins you the Super Bowl. Sometimes it is. A lot of people hear franchise and they think, Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, and you don't necessarily need that, right? You don't necessarily need a Lamar Jackson or whatever. You just need a guy that can work your system to its full potential. So if the Eagles, and I've said this before, I think if the Eagles are willing to be flexible and mold their team to Jalen Hurts, I think he can be a successful quarterback and he can grow. But are they patient enough, and are they willing to really do that? I don't think they are.
Well, that's a whole different issue too, because it seems like, the Eagles, seems like for whatever reason, you have Howie Roseman going out and scouting Pickett and the other guy Corral, right? And he's on ESPN with his big binoculars, right? Like, what was it, that statement? What was he trying to say? They had press release saying he's going to be at there. I've never heard, press releases and news reports saying a certain GM is going to be there to evaluate these guys. That usually is a given, but they made a big deal of it. So I don't know what they think of either guy. Let's say this happens. Let's say you're playing Washington at home. And this is what I keep thinking about in my head. Let's say you play Washington at home, and it's the third quarter, 7 minutes left the third quarter, and you're down 14-3. And Hurts has not been good throwing the ball. Then what? Are the Eagles capable of pulling him? I think they are, because this team always does the weirdest things with franchise quarterbacks. They never do things right. Because I think you let Hurts play. But here's the other thing I want to say. I think for a franchise quarterback in Philly, he's got to be able to throw the ball in December. December outside, you have Washington, you have the New York, you have the Eagles. It gets cold, windy. You got to be able to throw in that kind of environment. And right now, Hurts has to prove that he can throw and do it. And this is what these next 4 games are going to show me. If he does a good job, then we give him another year. If he doesn't, they're going to go out and get a quarterback. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. And I mean, a lot of people are bringing up like Russ, and I don't think that makes any sense right now. We're not a quarterback away. We need all those assets.
Let me tell you, I love Russell Wilson. But if you got Russell Wilson at 33, 34, what's your window? 2 years, 3 years? Now you have to go spend all your cap money, and you have to go and win now. It may be exciting for a year or two, but it's very risky. Now, I'll say this. If Deshaun Watson, all his charges and off the field stuff was cleared today, okay, I would trade for him. I'm not going to lie to you. I would straight up trade for him. Forget evaluation of all that bullshit. I'm trading for him. If he cleared everything off, because I think he's a hell of a quarterback.
How far would you go with
25.
that? I mean, how much would you give up for him? Would you be willing to part with your 2 ones?
I give 2. I give a 1 up this year and a 1 next year, maybe conditionally, if he plays. But he's got to be cleared of off the field stuff. I can't have him get suspended or be, like let's say the FBI came out and say, oh, he was extorted. I go get him. in a second. Now, he may not want to waive his no trade clause. I think there's been conflicting reports about that. So we don't really know. And then he may look at this offensive line, which is a beast right now, one of the best offensive line in the league. And he's never had that. He may say, I'll play there now.
Yeah, that's very true. And I mean, we have talent. Like a lot of people say, like to defend Jalen Hurts, like what talent does he have? Devontae Smith is a beast. Like our running game became number one once we committed to it. You know, Dallas Goedert is a beast at that tight end
Dallas
position.
Goedert is a beast.
You know, like he has one, like you said, one of the best, if not the best, offensive line in the league right now. And I mean, what does he need? What else does he need? And I know this is going to sound like a hater. I'm not trying to sound like a hater, but it's true. Like, I think we do have a very good offense. And I think for people to say, you know, Hurts, what does Hurts have to work with? That kind of devalues everything we've done on this offensive side. Like, you know, how we finally got it right. I think it kind of fell into his lap, but how we finally got it right with a wide receiver, right? You know, we didn't miss a beat theoretically when we have Dallas Goedert now at that tight end position. Quez is somebody we're all banging the table for. And I really am getting to the point that I feel like anybody can be in that running back room and be productive. Maybe not as high level as a Jordan Howard or Miles Sanders, but I still feel like we'll get productivity out of anybody you put back there. So I think we have a lot of talent. So I think it's true what you say that somebody like Deshaun Watson or maybe even a Russ Wilson looks at this team and says, you know what, screw it, let's go build your defense up a little bit and we might have something here. Because I really do think we're close. I really do think we're close. But
yeah,
I mean, we'll see. I guess we'll see. We've seen so many different versions.
We got to see what Hurts can do. It's still all about Hurts and development. I hope he comes out, he plays great, and we go to the playoffs. I think if we ended the season going, Hurts really played good. He carried us in December. He passed much better. And you know what? We need to give him another year. That would be great. That's the best case scenario, right? Then you got all those picks and you pull the defense. But if I'm not sure, and if a guy like Deshaun Watson becomes available, and like I said, it was always conditioned on off the field stuff. It's got to be cleared because I always get that. Well, what about all? It has to be done. He has to be cleared of it. But Deshaun Watson has never had an offensive line. He's had a horrible offensive line. And he still puts up big numbers. He's an absolute stud of a quarterback. And he's 25 years old. That's the big thing. He's 25.
Yeah. The one thing I will say that I kind of threw it out as kind of a joke, but, you know, it might be in a perfect world, right? Like in a perfect world, if you did have to, not have to, but if you did end up going after a Russell Wilson, right? Okay. And you were able to keep Jalen Hurts, that 2, 3, maybe 4-year window for Russell Wilson isn't that big of a deal for me. Right. I would love that to see somebody like Jalen Hurts be able to go under. I don't know if that's something he'd be willing to do, but if we give him the keys at 25, the kid's 23 right now. So I mean, if you do that, I wouldn't be mad at that.
I would not be mad either. You know, I mean, a lot of people like to compare him to Russell Wilson. I think it's an unfair comparison because I'm gonna tell you, Russell Wilson could throw the football. Russell Wilson has a big arm. Okay, he's a good passer. He's way more advanced of a passer than Hurts was coming out of college. So if you get a situation where Hurts can sit back and learn or play behind a guy like that for a couple of years, I would be all for that.
Yeah, that would be best case scenario. I think that's perfect world right there. Like I highly doubt that we would actually be able to pull that off.
I don't.
But who knows?
I don't think they're going to go after Russell Wilson. I can't see it happening. I think Deshaun Watson could be. And then otherwise, I think they may draft one. Some quarterbacks will rise. They always do. They always do.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. It's like at the end of the day, there's gonna be a top 5 prospect at quarterback that everybody loves. There's good that every year there is, whether he's good in the NFL is another thing. But you know, there's always that guy that has that freakish combine. So there's 2 last things that I want to talk about. First of all, I want to talk about Howie real quick because if we realistically, I know. Trust me, and the Fire Howie merch is still available, guys. So
I got to get me some of that.
Feel free. But, you know, if we really look at this team, he has put together some young stalwarts on this team through the draft where we almost have like the whole, I want to say 2018 draft re-signed, right? What are your thoughts? How because I feel like we're still all out on Howie, but how out are you on Howie? Has your mind changed at all on him?
No, it would take about 5-6 years of good drafts, like, for me to change. I don't trust Howie Roseman. I don't like. It's not just Howie. It's the whole idea that the analytics is got more say and more power than your scouting department. That's what I have a problem with, more so than anything. We've heard the reports. The scouting department wanted Justin Jefferson. Analytics wanted Reagor. He takes Reagor. Scouting department wanted Jeremy Chin. They go with Jalen Hurts. I think that we got a major problem in how the Eagles look at the analytics. I think they overrate it, and I think this is why we miss on so many early picks. The reason why I think we hit on some of the later picks is because they focus more on the scouting department and what they've seen, where maybe they're not so analytically driven. That's what I think. I think Devontae Smith pick was a no-brainer, right? Unless they're going to go Parsons, which the Eagles are not going to take a linebacker. So they're going to take Devontae Smith. That, to me, is a no-brainer pick. But, I know that was it, the 2018 draft is signed and stuff. I mean, look, a broken clock is right twice a day. That's how I see it, And I'm not saying you have to get rid of Howie. Just you gotta get a legitimate football guy evaluating talent. We have a lot of picks this year. I mean, this can build our whole roster the next 5 to 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only do we have a lot of picks, you brought it up perfectly. Like, we've been right on a lot of picks as far as our scouting department goes. Right. We just haven't gave the correct card. Like, I feel like they may have picked up the wrong card or something, gave it to Goodell. But, like, right. I feel like we know what we're supposed to do. Like, these guys are consistently right. Let them be right. Give them a chance. And if you have to, because at the end of the day, I feel like, any job you're in, it's not about, if you're a manager, and I feel like he's a manager, right? If you look at them as like a regular 9 to 5, he's the manager. So your job is not to work. Your job is to delegate. Your job is to take all of the information you get and make it work. Right. So I agree. If you see that, all right, hey, my guys are right a lot of times, and I necessarily haven't done the best job this, at this. So let me just give it to them, and if it goes wrong, I'm going to blame them because it's there. Right. I was like, I would be cool with you saying, listen, my scout said that this guy was going to be good. He was wrong. My scout's no longer here. We got a different guy. Like, that's how football should work. I shouldn't be looking at you like, why didn't you just listen to Tom Donahue? It makes zero sense.
And here's the other thing, real quick. And when they take these guys high, and they don't work out, they keep pushing them out on the field. They keep pushing them out on the field, even though they have guys on the roster who may deserve a better chance, right? Quez Watkins deserves more of a chance than Reagor or JJ Arcega-Whiteside, but they keep putting them out there on the field because they were high picks, and that drives me nuts.
Yeah, I think you were right without even meaning it this way, but they definitely pick these guys when they're high, because some of these guys, like, you go back to even Marcus Smith, it's like, what were you like? Hey, the Jalen Hurts pick, whether we love him right now or hate him wherever you land on that mark, when the pick happened, you were confused. Whether you were mad is a different situation, but you were confused. As an Eagles fan, you were like, why the hell?
Yeah, it still made no sense. I mean, if Jalen Hurts works out, it was lucky because they drafted him only to be a backup, not to be the starter. And that's lucky.
Yeah, shout out to KJ with the $2 super chat. I meant to shout you out and I didn't. I'm sorry. And shout out to John Gill with the $5 super chat, saying, as exciting as Hurts running can be, the successful ones have arms and legs. Nothing wrong with wanting a quarterback that can pass. His race means nothing. That I will say, I don't want.
Uh-oh. Am I here all by myself?
I meant to do that. I was
a little confused there. I'm like, did I do it or did what?
I was trying to fool you. I was trying to get you nervous. No, I don't want to get into that too much. But yeah, it's. I don't understand why people make it more than it has to be. But the last thing I want to ask you, and just kind of get our overall thoughts out, is who do you think this team is? Do you think this is a team that can realistically make a push towards the end of the season? Do you think they can make the playoffs?
Yeah, I do. I honestly do. I think they got some tough games. I think Washington right now is scary. I'm just be honest. Washington's playing good football. I think they're going to beat the crap out of Dallas this week. And I'll be root. Unfortunately, I got to root for Dallas, but they're a problem, and they always give us a problem anyways. But they got Dallas at the end of the year. They could be sitting all their players, and the Giants really stink. We're not losing the Giants again. And I think this Washington game in Philly is humongous. It is. It's a playoff game because if you beat Washington at home, then at worst you split with them. At worst, but if you lose, then you have to go to Washington. But they can. But this is. I'm so excited about this because this is what I was waiting for with Jalen Hurts. I wanted to see him in this kind of position. I wanted to see how he's going to handle it. We hear about all his leadership qualities, all these things. Now he's going to get to show it.
Yeah. And it sucks to play out as an Eagles fan. I will say that. Like, it sucks having to watch our team not be necessarily the greatest, but we all knew this was what was going to happen. We knew this was a retransitioning team, rebuilding team. So
no.
I think, like you said, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, man. I think this is the perfect situation for us. We want situational stuff, right? We want to see how they do on third down. We want to see how they do on first and, in game situations. And now we get to see how they react to playoff type situations. So
right.
It's going to be very, very interesting.
It's going to be,
And not only playoff situations, these are divisional games. So the lights are on and the lights are very, very bright, so, this is either going to show you that, Jalen Hurts is a gamer, or it's going to show that Jalen Hurts just doesn't have what it takes this year,
For me, like, because we have 2 other first round picks, 3 total, most likely, that to me makes me feel like I'm playing with house money now.
Yep.
I feel like I'm playing with house money. So why not make the playoffs? I'm not super worried about 3-4 spots here or there because I have the ammo to go up if I have to. You know what I mean? But man, I said between 7 and 10 wins for this team. I was called delusional, and I think they're going to do it. Now, will they make the playoffs? I don't know. I think that Washington game is like monstrous. It's monstrous.
That's going to be a fun one to watch. I'll tell you that much. That is going to be a fun one to watch. I'm definitely going to start previewing it next week. We're going to have Spadero on Monday, and we're talking to Derek Gunn. So next week, I'm getting everybody. We're going all out because I really do feel like you said the next week is, the Washington game. I should say not next week.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
If you like, we've said it a couple times these past couple weeks. This is a must-win game, but if you lose against the Washington football team, it's over. It really is mathematically most likely over. So it's going to be fun to watch.
The funny thing is I was really not happy about our bye week being this late early in the year. I was like, oh man, that's so late. But like, it is coming at the right time.
Yep.
Because we're going to get a week off before we have a 4-game, for that final stretch. So, man, it's going to be a long week this week. Not having I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to hear freaking either way. We're gonna either have to hear Washington fans, like the 4 of them that exist on Twitter. We're gonna either have to hear them or Cowboys fans talk that talk. So it's not gonna be fun. But we're gonna get out of here. Listen, at 500, you are my guy, man. You are like my brother. I appreciate all the support that you show me and all the help that you've given me with this channel. It's funny. I don't mean to like bore you with the story, but before I do let you go, it's funny because I was saying on one of my lives, I was going through all my old videos, like when I first started my show, and I had like voice clips of you and Joey. So and this is before I ever knew you. I was just kind of like using your voice clips. So it's crazy how full circle it is. And, I appreciate you guys just kind of accepting me into the community.
Of course.
But I appreciate you coming on, man. I really do.
Hey, I appreciate everything you do. I mean, you made the greatest intros, right? I mean, anything you ever need from me, man, just let me know. But I always enjoy talking football with you. No doubt.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I appreciate everybody in the chat chat as well. We got about 70 people still in here. Be sure to hit that subscribe, hit that like. We're so close to 3K. So let's get there. Be sure to go check out my guy Philly 500 for like maybe the 1 or 2 people that don't know who this GOAT is in this building. But other than that, man, y'all know what it is, man. It is Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace.
B Scott with the Philadelphia
John
Eagles.
Dornbos here, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Edwards, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Follow my guy Joe Castro on his YouTube/podcast channel.
Let's give a shout out to the Philly podcast.
And shout out Philly and my guy Joe Castro. So keep on doing great things, guys. Fly Eagles Fly.
Fly Eagles Fly.
Go Birds.